Dr. Henry here, and we got to talk about the misinformation and the disinformation that Dr. Umar Johnson is spreading out here. I mean, it's so bad that it's making me suspicious of him, as if he's really, really, really on the low trying to advance white nationalism. Now, on the surface, he preaches Pan-Africanism, and much of what he says, I can get on in terms of, support for black organizations and for black people and for black progress. However, a lot of times it seems like his calculation is off, particularly when it comes to electoral politics, American politics. Now, I want to comment on some of the things that Dr. Umar Johnson was talking about in reference to Vice President Kamala Harris. He said some really messed up stuff that is factually incorrect. You don't gotta like the sister. You could be suspicious of the sister, but according to data, he's way off. And so let me just bring out 3 main points he recently made in a video that I saw on Instagram. And the 3 points are that, one, like Obama, she is a house Negro, and she's doing whatever she needs to do to stick close to the white power structure. The second thing he said was that she made a career out of locking up black people. And the last gripe he has with her was that she said America is not a racist country. And I want to talk very quickly about each of those things, one at a time. And I'm going to go in that order. So the first thing, he says that she's doing everything she can do to stay close to the white power structure. Okay, Kamala Harris, like many other black people, are working within institutions that are predominantly white. Institutions that hire more white people than black people. Yes, we get that. And a lot of these institutions, in particular political institutions, they do serve the white majority and have always served the white majority throughout history. Okay, we understand that. But we can expand that and say that's the case in education. Okay, such as Dr. Umar Johnson, he went to a white institution to get the white man's knowledge, to get a degree, to then now tell other people about other black folks who are working in white institutions and talking to white people and trying to do what they can do. Now, here's the thing. So Dr. Umar Johnson would like to say, well, he went to a white institution to understand how to navigate the trappings of a racist society in order to uplift black people. Well, guess what? Black politicians have done the same thing. Black teachers have done the same thing. Black psychologists such as himself, black lawyers, and black prosecutors like Kamala Harris have done that. Okay, and in particular with Kamala Harris, one of the things she's done was to work against that system. She, in the way that she could. Okay, listen, Dr. Umar Johnson may be presenting himself as a radical, but he ain't doing anything radical. He still doesn't have a school. I don't see him marching up and down. He's talking behind a camera. Some people might say, bro, you're sitting comfortably in an armchair or on a stoop, on a bench, or in front of, or in your car, just talking. How radical is that? Is that more radical than the people who march with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference? Like, yo, one can make the argument that it's relative to a certain degree. And I think he forgets that. So I guess in short, I'm just saying that just as much as other people such as myself have worked in certain institutions to get our credentials to make a change, because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about making a change for my community as well by doing research and also sharing the history and the policies that I'm learning that impact us. And he's doing the same thing. We've both been accredited by, I guess we might want to say, an American institution, a power structure, right? He flaunts his degree to say, I'm Dr. Umar Johnson. You got a Psych D that's validated by, I guess, white America. So when people were questioning his doctorate degree from a, institution in American society, validated by American society, hey, he relied on that certification, on that validity. All right. So I don't see anything different between what he's doing and what Kamala Harris is doing, because Kamala Harris, as I'll show later, is actually trying to make a difference. So two, and this showed this difference, career locking up black people. What do you mean a career locking up black people? I mean, first of all, she's her career has mainly been in California, which has a population of about 6% black people, all right? Black people. All right, but let's just move forward on that note. Some people like to say, well, Kamala Harris was locking up a lot of black folks because they were like smoking marijuana, or she was locking up black parents. Let's address these two. And so here's some statistics I want to give. And let me pull this up right here. Okay. So the source of the data that I'm going to give you is from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. If you want, you can look for this yourself so that we could be on the same terms. In fact, the numbers I want to give are numbers by her detractors, by conservatives who use this against her, who actually injected this into American society so that people like Dr. Umar Johnson can spread a false narrative about her, which they were successful in doing. So the total number of admissions for marijuana and hashish offenses in the California state prisons between 2011 and 2016, these are the years that Kamala Harris was the Attorney General. So that total number was 1,974. Some people like to say she was locking up thousands. All right, it's less than 2,000, but I guess we can say thousands. All right, fine. But let's break this number down. In 2011, the total admissions for marijuana into the California state prisons, this is her first year as state attorney, was 863. Then in 2012, the number dropped tremendously to 254. 2013, that number jumped up to 276. And in 2014, that number dipped down back to 258. Then in 2015, it went down to 184. 2016, 139. So by the time she leaves to become the state senator, it's at 139. Total number offenses dealing with marijuana. And we could think about the percentage of black people in that, which was probably on average, I think, about 29% or something like that. Yeah, 29% of male inmates were black. Okay, more or less. All right, so based on the numbers, even if you don't want to give her credit for making any difference here, some people don't even want to give her that much, you gotta admit that the number was declining and not increasing under Kamala Harris. By her own deeds or not, you can do that math at another time. But right now, I just debunked Dr. Umar Johnson's claim that she's making a career off of arresting black people. Straight false. And shame on him. In a way, not really. I mean, he has a Psych D degree, so he's not really doing research. He's into education and talking about, systematic and structural racism and how culture may be impacted by, economic and political pressures and all that stuff. And, how that has been expressed in black history. I get that. I give him that, right? But in terms of what's going on in black politics, he's way off. And in terms of what's going on in general politics, he's way off. There's no data supporting him. Just passion and a lot of rhetoric. So let's go back to the last point. The last point he made that I will address. There are many other points he made, but I just want to hit on the main three that are circulating. The last three was that she said America was not a racist country. Facts. She said that. However, that's not all she said in the piece that he's referencing. Okay, Kamala Harris, I believe it was Good Morning America, I can pull it up here somewhere, made this case that America was not a racist country in response to Tim Scott. Y'all already know about Tim Scott, the black Republican for South Carolina, who was responding to Biden when Biden had made a comment talking to Congress about the problems of white supremacy. Okay, so Tim Scott is, the Republican Party put Tim Scott in front of the camera when talking about racist issues. Okay, so he was the Republican mascot at that point. And basically he was like, America's not a racist country, and, we had some issues, but right now we good. And he's, and so they're painting a picture that, Biden and Democrats are race baiting and all that. So Kamala Harris understands the rhetorical game that's that's at play here. So she's like, yeah, in a sense, all right, America is not a racist country, especially given that there are more people trying to fight against it than not. All right, and the Republican Party is not on that side of trying to fight against racism because they are aiding and abetting white nationalists, American fascists, neo-Nazis. They're all rallying behind Trump. They're all pushing to make America white again, if I may say. So, anyway, she basically said, yeah, you know what? He made a good point. America's not racist. However, we have a huge issue that we have to face, a reality that we have to face, and that reality is that America's past is entrenched in racism, and as a result, America is presently dealing with people who support that, who still have a vision of the past, who are nostalgic about the old America, that Confederate America. And so she made the case that one of the top issues domestically that we have to face is white supremacy, the violence from white supremacy. That was her main point. So here is the person who is saying that we still have to address that issue. We cannot escape the fact that there are people, there are agents of white nationalism and white supremacy. He didn't tell y'all that. Either he doesn't understand or he's doing this on purpose, but I would like to believe he understands things very well. Very sharp brother. So I'm surprised he's not giving the full story. Very surprised about that. It makes me very suspicious. Like he wants to keep people uninformed just enough so that he can preach to them wherever his gospel is. So her point in that interview was that yes, a lot of change has been made to the sense that America doesn't have overt laws that support white supremacy, like Jim Crow laws, like Plessy versus Ferguson, black codes. Now we do know, thanks to Michelle Alexander, that our society knows how to finagle the loopholes in laws and in language in certain laws, and then create certain practices and institutions like in the law enforcement to prey on black folks and brown folks. I'm not oblivious to that. But what Kamala Harris is not speaking like an activist. She's not speaking like a black nationalist. She's not speaking like a black, preacher. She's speaking like a prosecutor, a black female prosecutor who's on a national stage, as a senator, former senator, now going into vice president. She's speaking in that capacity, so the powers that be, the negotiations that be, can understand the points that she is making that require action. So regardless if someone want to say America not a racist country or not, well, we do have data that we have a lot of people acting on some white nationalist and white supremacy stuff, on some racist stuff. We have that data, so let me discuss that and not get caught up in the rhetorical battle, because that's where she has to navigate. So based on those 3 points, Dr. Umar Johnson is full of cap, man. At least on that point. Straight cap. Straight cap. Now he got a lot of misinformed brothers and sisters. That's messed up, right? Like he's doing the work of conservatives, giving us false information about our own people. And don't even get me started with Obama. That's a whole nother story. Frankly, Obama and Kamala Harris has done more for black people than Dr. Umar Johnson. Mic drop. I'm out. Peace. It's your boy, Dr. Henry.